Our theme for Mission Week this year is Mercy Begins with Me. And obviously the word mercy does begin with the letters M-E. But our theme reflects a much deeper truth than that. Maybe we'll wait for the prayer. Thank you, Sister Julie. Mercy is an institution that comes to life because of each one of us. Mercy is more than bricks and mortar because we, people of mercy, come to work each day to share mercy and be mercy in whatever way we can. Mercy, the organization, is dynamic and responsive because each person here answered the call to serve here at Mercy. When we respond as people of mercy, we know we are responding in the spirit of the Sisters of Mercy, who risked a great deal to use their limited resources to establish the hospital nearly 119 years ago. Today we will hear from 4 of our co-workers who will share their stories of answering the call to come to Mercy and what keeps them committed to their call. They have all responded to the same call, and they truly understand that mercy begins with me. Our hope for today is that each one of you will be able to identify with at least one of the stories you will hear today, so you can recognize the depth of your own call and commitment. So I'll turn it over to our speakers now.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm Greg Kirkman, Director of Acute Inpatient Services. And my call, I guess, most recently was Sister Susan reaching out and asking if I'd come to this and speak. And I have to say I was really honored and touched. She said that I thought I'd have a good message. And then yesterday morning I run into her in the hall. And she said, you are going to be here tomorrow, right? And I was really taken aback by that. Like, she had so little faith. I had an epiphany this morning, though. This was actually her brilliance of reducing any pressure whatsoever. Literally, all I had to do was show up, and I was meeting her expectation. So I am honored to be here, though, and speak with all of you and work with you on a daily basis. What brought me to Mercy? So I had kind of a winding path to healthcare in the first place. Thought that I was going to change the world by being a golf pro, and then worked in the business of printing for a while before realizing that I really needed more connection to service in some way, to some positive impact from the work that I was doing, and decided to go to nursing school. And in nursing school, actually, this was one of the places that I got to have clinicals, and I had some good experiences. But became an RN and worked in Southeast Iowa for a number of years, about 8 years, at a community hospital there, and ended up doing some travel leadership work when I saw this job opportunity come up. And it was about 3 years ago this month that Mary and I had our first conversation about this opportunity. I think what struck me was an immediate connection on values. And that really drew me into the opportunity after, obviously, what gets you to apply for any job, expanded responsibility. For me, the fact that we were an independent hospital was very exciting to me. But my connection with Mary, and then Mary and Nancy initially in those conversations, was really about values, about their moral and ethical approach to issues and the way that they come to work each day. When I did get to come for the initial visits to the hospital, I found the same thing with every group of people that I got to meet. The way that we acknowledge each other in the halls, the way that the panel interviews approached the process for me, I was very impressed. And on a personal note, what really excited me, about halfway through the process, I learned that we were getting our certificate of need, or had just gotten our certificate of need to open an open heart program. My daughter, when she was born, had a congenital heart defect that required open heart surgery at about 5 months old. So that was a big motivator to me to be able to be a part of a program with such a personal connection. So about 2.5 years now that been able to be a part of your team. And what I would say, what keeps me here and what keeps me driven each day is the culture and the people. The fact that you're committed to come here and try and share in our experiences as coworkers, reconnect with our mission, the fact that I know everybody's name in the room after such a short time with the organization, my initial impression of the culture and people have held through each day. There wasn't some letdown period where I was like, whoa, what did I get myself into? Instead, it was quite the opposite. I was welcome like family. Certainly we have challenges. I would say that healthcare has structural challenges that will face us today and probably for the next decade before we figure out what that's going to look like. But what I have seen is that challenges, small and especially big, in my short time here, I think that our teams respond best under pressure, and that we rally around any situation that might be considered a crisis and really outperform what would be required of us. What I've consistently seen is that we're greater than the sum of our parts, I think, and that we do come together in those times of stress. Some positive memories in my time here. One thing that really sticks out to me is I was able to join Sister Susan and a group of leaders and go out and meet our community of nuns that live at Mount Mercy, or at least come together at Mount Mercy University. And you know, we all go into healthcare, or most of us go into healthcare because there is that connection with a why, with that greater purpose of what we're doing. And that should be really easy in our industry all the time. But as someone who's worked at a lot of health systems, it's different here. And that day was really profoundly impactful to me, to see some of the history within our community, all the way back to Bagot Street in Ireland. And you feel it differently here. And I'm so happy to be a part of that. So I think if I were to leave with any parting words of wisdom, it would be to try and keep that why for you at the forefront of your thoughts. Use this week to reconnect with your purpose. Use each day to do that, not only with patients and families that we serve, but also with your coworkers. I think that if you can take that approach to your daily work, you'll find more personal joy, and certainly you'll help Mercy thrive and be that different experience for all those that we serve into the future. So thanks for letting me be a part of your team.
Hi, my name is Nikki Davis, and I'm an ACO care coordinator. And when I came in this morning, I told Sister Susan this is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my career. And partly because I feel like I'm really putting myself out there, and plus I haven't done any public speaking in a really long time. So I'm gonna read my little thing to you so I don't forget anything. So I graduated from Mount Mercy in 1984, and at that time there were not a whole lot of jobs in Iowa. And that was the time when DRGs were just coming about, so there was a lot of hospitals were not hiring people because they were not sure of the impact. So a hospital from Louisiana came to Mount Mercy and recruited new grads. And you may not know that Louisiana is at about the top of the reimbursement for DRG, so they had lots of money to spend. So they offered us a nice salary and a sign-on bonus. So 8 of us from Mount Mercy went to Alexandria, Louisiana to work at St. Francis Cabrini Hospital. You may know Jean Noble. She was one of them who went with us. She was a classmate of mine. The working conditions, though, when we got there were not what they had indicated. Most of us were put on a cardiac step-down unit, and when we got there, they fired all the nurse aides on that floor, and that floor only. So I was told several times when we were there that you came and took our jobs. And I didn't understand that because I thought, well, you're a nurse aide, and I'm a nurse, so I didn't take your job. But now I 100% get it, that we did go down there and take their jobs. They also put us in charge of nurses that had a lot more experience than us. So imagine being a new graduate, working on a floor where they fired all the nurse aides, and being put in charge of nurses who had at least 20 years of experience. So there was a lot of animosity. We also had to work 2 weekends in a row before we would get one off, and we were all on different weekends and different shifts. So I was alone much of the time. So I was homesick and lonely. After about 7 months, jobs started opening up here in Iowa, so I planned a vacation home to job hunt. Growing up, my family moved around a lot. I lived in 9 different towns and went to 3 different school systems before I graduated from high school. I really did not have roots anywhere. And since I graduated from Mount Mercy, I decided to come back to Cedar Rapids and establish some roots. I applied for a job on PCU, which is now the cardiac stroke unit. I interviewed with the house supervisor and the nurse manager and was offered a job that day before I left. The next day I applied for a job at St. Luke's, and I spent a half a day there, and they wanted me to come back the next day for more interviews, but I said no thank you because it just felt right at Mercy, so I called and accepted the position. So on April 1st, 1985, I started my career at Mercy. Within 2 weeks, I was moving back to Iowa. Within less than a year, all of us left Louisiana except for one nurse because she found a fella down there and married him. I came back to Cedar Rapids because it was familiar and I was tired of moving. I loved working in the cardiac area but was disappointed that Mercy did not offer open heart surgery. My great aunt, who was like my grandma, had open heart surgery at Mercy in Des Moines, and she loved that hospital, and I always thought of that as the heart hospital. Plus, it was a Mercy hospital. I thought about moving to Des Moines to work there, but it wasn't long before I got married and had a family, so moving to Des Moines was out of the question. Because Cedar Rapids had just 2 hospitals, I decided early in my career that I would never leave Mercy unless I knew I never wanted to come back. I could not imagine leaving the Sisters of Mercy. After about 2 years on PCU, I started working in cardiac rehab, which was the best job ever. But I always longed to work at Mercy in Des Moines. After many years of working in cardiac rehab, I finally had the chance to go to Des Moines and tour their cardiac rehab department, and I was both disappointed and proud because my expectations of their cardiac rehab were very high. But I found out that our cardiac rehab here was much more advanced. But the one thing I felt like we were still missing here at Mercy was the open heart program. But now we have an open heart program, so how great is that? Mercy has had the Mercy Touch all along, but we did not always call it the Mercy Touch. I did not fully understand it until years later. For years, I would hear patients and families say how they loved Mercy and how it was different. But I always thought, well, they just have a hospital preference. They just like it here, but both hospitals provide great care. After hearing this for so many years, I thought it must be true. And Mercy finally, I don't know the year, started calling it the Mercy Touch, and it is a real thing. I believe in our mission to care for the sick and enhance the health of the communities we serve, guided by the spirits of mercy, the Sisters of Mercy. There is no perfect place to work, but I truly believe that Mercy always tries to do the right thing. I have been here for so many years, and so that I say the Sisters of Mercy have raised me, especially since I went to Mount Mercy. And so this is my home, and the people are my family. I have seen many changes at Mercy over the years. I don't really consider them challenges because changes must occur for growth. When I started, most of the campus was surrounded by homes. We parked in a parking lot that is now the dock. There was a gym with a chapel above it, and the windows from the chapel are in the hallway by the Hall Prine Cancer Center. So if you've never stopped to see them, stop by and see them sometime. Direct deposit was rare, and we all stood in line on payday Friday to get our paychecks. There were so many different positions, or there are so many different positions now. We didn't have care coordinators or social workers on every floor, and we didn't have a quality department, and our IS department had like 3 employees, and I could go on and on. I worked in cardiac rehab for about 20 years and absolutely loved it. Like I said earlier, it was the best job ever. I had planted the roots I was looking for, but they were planted a bit too firm. I was very comfortable, and I was feeling I needed a challenge, so I applied for a nurse manager position in home care. I had promised myself I would never stay in a position for 20 years again, and had the goal of staying in that position for about 5 years. After I was there about 7 years, I remembered the promise to myself, but I was comfortable. I started thinking about other positions, but I was too comfortable to move on. After a stressful DIA survey, that was my sign. It was time to find something else. I prayed that I could find something at Mercy. I started my career in healthcare at the age of 16, working as a nurse aide in a nursing home. I loved working with the elderly, and always thought in the back of my mind I would end up back in long-term care. I always thought that I would have to leave Mercy to do that. And then when I was looking through the jobs postings, it hit me. Mercy has a long-term care, Hallmar. So I applied for a nurse manager position in Hallmar and got it. I love the residents, but long-term care had changed tremendously since I was a teenager, and I realized it was not a good fit for me. One of the things about working at Mercy is the variety of positions available. I applied for another position and now working as an ACO care coordinator and loving it. One thing for sure, there will always be change, and it is never easy. But if you have a positive attitude about it, it'll always work out.
My name is Tammy Boozman, and Mercy starts with me finding my voice, becoming authentically me. I'm a chaplain here at the hospital, and each of us as chaplains is assigned units throughout this facility and over to the cancer center. And those are areas in which we round daily. So my units happen to be the 9th floor cardiac stroke inpatient unit, the behavioral health unit, and the cancer center. So you will find me on any of those or somewhere in between on any given day. About this very time, 14 years ago, I was finishing my training as a volunteer for Hospice of Mercy. I was working full-time as an associate pastor in Cedar Rapids, and the volunteer coordinator of the hospice volunteer program was a member at my church and a dear friend. And she continued to pick at me about coming and being a volunteer for her. Trust me, I had a lot of things going on, ministry and personally, but I finally decided to say yes and to go through the volunteer program, partly because I worked with a lot of folks at end of life, and I felt like maybe there was some things that I could learn that would be applicable. Little did I know I would be in for significant growth, and the next number of years would bring about significant life changes, and I needed to be in this sacred crucible where transformation could most effectively occur. As I began to volunteer with Mercy Hospice, I sensed a resonance deep within me. My work with the dying introduced me to living life fully. I began to discern priorities, to notice what really matters. 2 years later, my hospice volunteer work expanded, and I became one of the volunteer chaplains as they opened the hospice house. So I was helping cover the overnights and weekends at the newly built hospice house. A year after that, I accepted a position as one of the chaplains with Mercy Hospice. I started at Mercy the end of May 2008. The flood happened just a couple weeks after that. It was a crash course into the teamwork that I later learned was deeply embedded in hospice services. I was challenged to claim my role as a professional spiritual care provider, to be an active learner, to be creative, to be compassionate, and courageous. I worked at Mercy Hospice for 6 years and then came to the pastoral care department at the hospital early in 2014, and I've been here ever since. What drew me to Mercy? The first part of my ministry career, working in local church, congregational ministry, much of the leadership was male-dominated. I was drawn to Mercy by the heritage of competent, gifted women leaders, the Mercy Sisters, who had founded and nurtured an organization towards growth, holistic care, and vitality. Their servant leadership set the precedent for other women and men of various gifts and expertise to come on board and continue to expand the skills, the services that we offer today. While we still have much opportunity for becoming more diverse, some of the most effective and productive interventions in care planning has happened when a diversified group teams up and joins forces. I remain here at Mercy because I have been encouraged and given the opportunity to explore, enhance, and utilize my gifts and expertise. In order to be the very best I can be as a board-certified chaplain, I need to start with making sure I am learning, growing, and in tune. I need to be well in order to help nurture the well-being of others. The sisters' commitment to holistic care for people, to hospitality, to courageously affirming and protecting human dignity stokes my passion for service. Further, since coming to the pastoral care department, I have had the good fortune of working with a team who values and endorses self-care and boundaries. I love my job. Every day is different. I get to come alongside patients and their loved ones at times of great triumph, horrific tragedy, and everything in between. And equally inspiring to me is the honor of getting to journey with colleagues from all disciplines in their personal and professional moments of life. I am biased. I wholeheartedly tell people that. But I believe that the teams with whom I work, the folks on behavioral health, the cancer center, ninth floor, are some of the most talented, hardworking, compassionate people in their fields. So let's be honest, I actually get to roam all over this place, and I get to venture into other parts of our organization, and I would say that is true of the folks in our organization across the board. I have so many favorite stories and memories from the last 11 and a half years. Hearing the peace that comes when a patient experiences the fullness of us as a whole team, hearing them, feeling noticed, and helping them move towards health is powerful. I love being able to smile and laugh with colleagues. We do life-altering, serious work around here, and we desperately need moments when we can relax and enjoy the benefits of humor. And probably my favorite moments are those when I get to witness and celebrate the growth of colleagues. We all have to start somewhere. And inevitably, if we are fully engaged and we lean into our roles and our responsibilities, there will be times when we completely mess up. And helping to hold space so we can be authentic and can address those opportunities to improve and grow is sacred work. If we fully invest ourselves in honest assessment and accountability, we get better. We get stronger individually, but especially as a team. Mercy starts with me. Starts with me finding my voice, being open to the transformation that emerged as I claimed my role and leaned into my call. So my triple dog dare is for each of you to pay attention to that nudge, that sense of calling that first brought you here. Hold on to that tenaciously. If you sense your call becoming dim or you find yourself becoming disillusioned, come find me. Together we will recall what first sparked that sense of call to this place, to this work, to this shared ministry at Mercy.
Sheila Cooksley. I am the clinic manager at Mercy Care Center Point in Central City. Today's kind of emotional to me. I am just returning from a Walk to Emmaus retreat over the weekend where I got to work with several women and walk with them and finding their faith path, and knowing that I had this talk coming up this morning, it kind of made me think about how blessed I am, and it's amazing to think about God's role in my life and how his plan includes a different path for each of us. My call to Mercy started well over 25 years ago. And it's funny to think about because the very first time that I applied for a job here, I didn't get it. But then I was later hired for that same job that I didn't get. My life went on, as did different jobs and different callings, and in 2004, I hesitantly applied again for a position. From an urging from a friend who kept saying, "We need you. It's a great job, it's a great place." So I applied, and here I am. 15 years later, and so much has happened. I've been blessed to work at 4 different locations, here at the main campus, the Health Plaza, Mercy Care Marion, and now Mercy Care Centerpoint in Central City. I know you may be thinking, holy buckets, she's been everywhere. And you're right, I have. But I believe that's been all for a different reason in my life. I was here at the main campus to get a true feel of Mercy, all that it stands for, and to become one of the favorites you may have passed in the hallway if I had extra cookies on my cart from a catering event. I believe my time at the Mercy Health Plaza was very special to me because during that time there, my husband Bob passed away. The plaza is a place of healing, a place where patients choose to go to become better. They have an option not to go there, but then they choose to go there, whether it's physical therapy, dialysis, the fitness center back then when I was there, or even the walk-in clinic. They choose to go there. The support they receive as patients and the support I received from my Mercy family and the family of our patients helped me at a time when I didn't think I'd survive, but I did. In 2013, I needed a break, serious break, to run away from my life. So I did for a year, but I stayed as a PRN status so that when I was ready to return to my family, my Mercy family, I knew I could. I just didn't know where that may be. This led me to my next chapter, my next calling at Mercy Care Marion. It came at a point of new beginnings, a new start, a clean slate. I was in process of selling the home where Bob and I had lived and gotten married in. I had bought a home in Marion not knowing where my job was going to take me. But I noticed an opening at the clinic and I knew I needed a full-time income and was ready to come back to work. Dr. Myers and Jess Quinn were gracious enough to hire me for their team. I bonded almost immediately with them and my new family. I was beyond blessed to be there and to be part of the Mercy family again. I learned so many things while I was in my role as a PSC and added more individuals to my Mercy family, my growing support team in this new beginning of mine. They helped me say goodbye to a chapter in my life and say hello to a new one. It was also in Marion that I took on the role of the Ideal Protein Lifestyle Coach. That role actually led me home to the Mercy Care and Centerpoint as a full-time as a fill-in Ideal Protein coach. I visited that clinic regularly as a child and sometimes frequently on the weekends. When my parents would have to call Dr. Anderson and say Sheila needed stitches again, he'd joke and thank me for keeping him in his business. When there became an opening in the clinic for clinic manager position, I was hesitant, but I wasn't hesitant to apply because I knew that I wanted to be there. I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back to Mercy and all they'd given to me and give back to the community where I was born and raised. So now I'm home. My call to Mercy has come full circle. I couldn't be more full or thankful. Mercy truly is my family, and I'm so very blessed to be here with all of you.
Each year I get more and more inspired and always cry. So anyway, let's give him another round of applause. Another important part of Mission Week is the anointing of hands that will take place on Thursday. So Mark McDermott's going to come up and help commission those who will help with this important activity.
Good morning. Just for a moment, would you hold the palms of your hands out in front of you, whether on your table or on your lap, and just take a look at your hands. In one day, think of all the things that these hands do. My day started out shining my shoes from all the snow that was on my shoes this morning, from yesterday. They'll probably end the day by holding a patient's hand, comforting somebody. 4 fingers and a thumb. They're amazing. Thursday of Mission Week is a very special day. I have about 20 staff people that are going to anoint the hands of our staff here at Mercy. Last year, I had a new person do this, and at the end of Thursday last year, she came back to my office and said, "Will you ask me to do this next year? That was so cool." It really is. It's very humbling to anoint someone else's hands. Last year, I stood before a nurse who had been here many years. She held her hands out in front of me, and I was just humbled, just trying to imagine everything she did over all these years. That's why we're going to anoint the hands of our staff on this Thursday, because these hands help us do the mission of Mercy and continue the healing ministry of Jesus in our world today. Wow. I'd like to call forth anybody present here who is going to help with this anointing on Thursday. Could you come forward and stand in front, please? Could I have you turn and face the people? And if everyone would raise your right hand over these people as we commission them to anoint. Dear Lord, we ask a special blessing on these individuals who will share your anointing with all those in this sacred healthcare ministry. The hands they will anoint are full of skill and experience, hands that reach out with compassion, hands that lift the hearts of those who suffer, and hands that celebrate the joy of healing. As you anoint the hands of your co-workers, please reflect the depth of gratitude for each set of hands that provides care and service to all those who come to us in need. And may each of you draw closer to Christ as you faithfully reflect his mercy. Amen. You may pick up your oils in the pastoral care office directly after this. Thank you so much for helping.
Thank you for those who came today to hear our speakers. And I hope when you go back to your areas, you share the wonder of what you heard this morning and encourage your coworkers to come. We have another time at noon and then again at 3:45. So thanks for being here. And remember, mercy begins with me, meaning you. So have a great day.